Hello ELM258 students, welcome back to another AutoSIM demo. In this one we're going to be looking at doing a sequential process control similar to the type of processes on the HAS200 where you've got multiple actuators and one actuator moves that and then triggers another actuator to move, and then after that maybe there's a time delay and another actuator moves. So we're going to look at how to approach that in the program and what you're going to have to do in Virtual Lab 05 to modify your circuit for multiple actuators. So first of all, you're going to build up a circuit that looks like this, and it's going to include a PLC and the electrical connections to the PLC. And the objective of the program is that you're going to hit a start push button, which will trigger actuator A to extend. When that one extends, its sensor A1, the extend sensor, is going to trigger B to extend, and then B's extend sensor will trigger C to extend. Then once C is finished extending, it hits sensor C1, that will trigger C to retract, and then when it hits C0 will trigger B to retract, and B0 will trigger A to retract. So that's the basic sequence we're going to be executing. What I'm going to do is open up the AutoSIM from your previous lab, which was the PLC control lab from Virtual Lab 04, and we're just going to make some modifications here to create the 3 actuators and start working on the program. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to take the actuator over here. I'm just going to delete the words here. I don't think we need those. So I'm just going to select this and drag it down here to the bottom of the PLC. We want to set it up so we'll be able to see the PLC and the actuators at the same time. Then I'm going to make a copy of this whole thing. Paste it right next to it. And then another copy. Okay, and so we want to make actuators A, B, and C. So now I'm just going to go in and change the letter designations and the sensor labels so we have actuators B and C. So remember, this is just a text label. It doesn't have any functional properties. The actuator itself, we have to change this to B plus, and this one to B minus. And the sensors, B0 and B1. And we'll do the same thing for this one, which is going to be actuator C. Change the text, change the valve actuator symbols, C plus and C minus, and then the sensors, C0 and C1. So now I need to add the electrical symbols for those new actuators, and first thing I'm going to do is move these up a little bit, make as much room as I can, and I'm just going to delete these connections for now. And I'll make copies of these two. So we now have 3 pairs of actuators because each cylinder has a valve that has 2 solenoids to actuate it. And let's hook these up now. Okay, and we have to do the same thing with the sensors. I'm going to get rid of this main control. We're not going to need that anymore. And we're only going to use one push button. So I'm going to delete these connections. And move these down. Okay, and I'm just going to copy the sensors A0 and A1 twice. And we'll hook those up. Okay, now we need to relabel the sensors. This is B0, B1, C0, and C1. And then I have to change the labels on the solenoid, the electrical symbols for the solenoid. So I've got A plus and A minus. I'm going to make this B plus, and this will be B minus, and C plus, and C minus. So I'm going to take the symbol table that I had and just delete it, because we're going to have everything. I'm going to use some new names. So if I right click, create a symbol table. Now before I do that, let's take a look at the outputs. The outputs are on starting at 0 and going to 5. And so let's do those first. So to create a symbol, I right click, click add. Now I've had mentioned this last time that AutoSIM doesn't allow plus and minus symbols in the syntax for the valve labels. So, and last time I spelled it out A plus, A minus. What I think I'll do this time is actually call it AEXT, which is closer to the function, A extend. And that's on output 0. And then the next one would be A retract, RETR. That's on output 1. And then we have B EXT on output 2. And we have B RETR for retract on output 3. And C EXT on output 4. And then C RETR for retract on output 5. Okay, then the inputs, starting it out in input 0, we've got the start push button, and then we've got sensors A01, B1, B0, B1, and C0, C1. So we're going to add, we'll just call it start, and that's at input 0. Now for the syntax for the sensors, I found out that C0 is actually, and C1 is used as a designation for a counter, and so you can't use it as a name for a input variable. So I'm just going to add SENS to stand for sensor. So A sense 0 is A0. I think I'll copy that so I don't have to keep typing it. And that's at input 1. A sense 1 is at input 2. B sense 0, input 3. B sense 1, input 4. C sense 0 is at input 5. And C sense 1 is on input 6.